Welcome to English Uncut. We are so happy you have joined us today for another deep dive into essential English vocabulary that you can use right away. Tell me, do you ever feel like you know many English words, perhaps you can even define them perfectly, but when you try to speak, you struggle to use them in real, everyday conversations? Do you find that gap difficult to bridge? We are here to help you cross that distance today. Our mission in English Uncut is to give you the practical language tools you need to speak clearly, naturally, and confidently about complex topics and challenging life experiences. We want to move these words from your memory into your active speaking. Before we jump into today's fascinating and useful lesson, we invite you to please like and subscribe to the English Uncut channel. Share this video with your family and friends so they do not miss these valuable lessons designed to make your English speaking stronger and more fluent. Today we are focusing on practical vocabulary drawn from a real-life scenario. This scenario is a conversation between two people discussing a very common but often very challenging emotional experience, the experience of betrayal. We will analyze how native speakers talk about being hurt, how they set limits to protect themselves, and, most importantly, how they use specific language to describe moving forward. And I am so excited to introduce our expert guide today, the wonderful English instructor who's joining us. She's here to help us analyze the exact usage of these key phrases and ensure that you understand not just the definition, but exactly how to place these words correctly into your own sentences for clear and powerful communication.
Thank you. It is a genuine pleasure to be here, and I really want to emphasize to all of our dedicated learners that we are going to move slowly and clearly today. We will focus intensely on pronunciation and context so that you can feel comfortable immediately applying these words to your own life. We are focused purely on the practical application of English today.
That is exactly right. We want this knowledge to be immediately useful to you, making a difference in your conversations, starting now. So let's begin. I will now present a complete English scenario, which is a conversation between two people, Lucy and Daniel, who are discussing how they experienced betrayal in their lives. As I read, I will present all sentences slowly and clearly using accurate pronunciation. This is designed for deep listening and repetition. Please pay close attention to the way the words connect together and, the tone of the conversation. Here's the dialogue. Daniel starts by saying, "Betrayal is a tough pill to swallow, whether it is from a close friend, a family member, or even someone at work. It can shake up how we trust people," Lucy responds. "I have unfortunately been betrayed. There was a time when a close friend of mine shared something very personal that I had confided in her. It felt like my trust was completely shattered."
That's such a powerful word, shattered.
It really is.
Yeah.
Then Daniel says, "That sounds really tough. It is always harder when it is someone close to you, someone you never expect to hurt you." And Lucy continues, explaining the emotional fallout. "Exactly. I was not just hurt by what she did, but it also made me question every other relationship in my life. Trust, once it is broken, is so hard to rebuild."
That's so true.
Daniel then offers his own example, moving to a workplace setting. "I completely get that. I had that feeling in the workplace once when a coworker I trusted took credit for something I worked really hard on. It was a big project, and when it took the spotlight, I felt completely blindsided." Lucy comments, "Ouch! Workplace betrayal can be just as hurtful, especially when you are counting on someone to have your back in a professional setting. It is like it hits you out of nowhere." And Daniel explains the resulting change.
Exactly. And what makes it worse is that it changes how you interact with people in the future. You become more guarded. Yeah, it takes a lot of time and effort to rebuild that trust.
Yeah. Finally, Lucy concludes this thought. Betrayal forces you to put up walls, but it is also a learning experience. It teaches you who to trust and what boundaries to set moving forward.
Wow. That dialogue is truly a fantastic example of natural, practical English usage. Did you notice how the speakers use descriptive words and phrases? Things like the very common idiom, "tough pill to swallow."
Right.
And that very visual phrase, "completely blindsided," to convey strong emotions and specific experiences.
They really paint a picture for you.
They do. And so now we will transition to a deep analysis of the specific key words and phrases used. We will look at how they function in daily English life, focusing on the correct definition and usage, and providing you with the necessary tools to use them correctly.
Yes, our goal now is to take those concepts and turn them into active vocabulary tools for you. We will analyze 15 essential vocabulary items from this conversation, focusing only on definition and usage in real communication. So let's begin with the core of our conversation, the main topic itself, betrayal.
Right, betrayal, and let's get the pronunciation clear. It's betrayal.
Betray.
Perfect. It's a noun, and it's a fundamental concept in relationships. It describes the violation of trust. Specifically, it happens when someone you have confidence in, a friend, a family member, a colleague, breaks that trust in a deeply hurtful or disloyal way.
So it's a very serious action.
Right.
Much stronger than, say, a simple disappointment.
Oh, absolutely. The distinction you make between betrayal and disappointment is so important. Disappointment might happen if a friend cancels dinner plans.
Right, that's annoying, but you get over it.
Exactly. Betrayal happens when that friend shares your most intimate secret with others. It's a profound, deep violation.
That makes sense. Let us look again at the usage in the dialogue. The example sentence we have is, she felt the deep sense of betrayal when her friend shared her secret. I want to highlight the grammatical structure here. The noun betrayal names the specific hurtful action that occurred. It's describing the state of having your trust violated.
And here's a crucial usage point for all of you listening. Notice that common phrasal usage. A deep sense of betrayal.
A deep sense of value.
Yes. When we talk about feelings that are complex or powerful or, intense, we frequently pair them with the noun sense, and we combine it with a strong adjective like deep, overwhelming, immediate, or profound.
So you would rarely hear a native speaker just say, I felt betrayal.
It's not as common, no. They convey that intensity by using this phrase. It gives it more weight.
So if you want to communicate the seriousness of this experience, you don't just say the single word. You say, I felt an overwhelming sense of betrayal. Or, like in the example, a deep sense of betrayal. This gives your listener much more emotional context and depth.
Precisely. And you can also use betrayal with other verbs that indicate suffering or experiencing. Verbs like experience or suffer.
Okay.
Instance. He experienced a serious betrayal when the company closed the deal without him knowing.
I see.
Or another common one is to recover from a betrayal. The key is that this noun always refers to that broken promise or the deep violation of confidence.
That's crystal clear. Now let's analyze the common immediate change in behavior after that hurt occurs. We're talking about the adjective guarded.
Yes. To be guarded, and the pronunciation is guarded.
Guarded.
It's an adjective that means to be cautious and reserved. It describes someone who is careful, maybe a little hesitant about opening up to others because they have been emotionally injured before.
Like putting up a wall.
Think of the protective barrier that a castle wall provides. That's a perfect analogy. The person is putting up a protective, emotional wall around themselves.
In the dialogue, Daniel says that the experience changes how you interact with people in the future. You become more guarded. The specific application example we analyzed was, after being betrayed by her colleague, she became more guarded at work.
This example is vital for understanding behavioral change in English. Note that specific structure, became more guarded.
Became more.
Yes, the verb to become is used to describe a transition or a change in behavior, state, or personality. It tells the listener that before the betrayal, she was probably open and trusting, but afterward, her emotional state changed to one of caution.
So if you want to show someone moved from one emotional state to another, you often use become or even get.
Exactly.
For instance, he became silent after the news, or in our case, she became more guarded. You could also use the verb to feel to describe your current state, right? I feel very guarded when meeting new people.
Absolutely. And here is a highly practical usage extension for you, combining the word with the preposition about.
Guarded about something.
Yes. You can be guarded about a specific topic, person, or area of your life. For example, she is very guarded about her future career moves.
Which means she's keeping those plans private.
Right. She's cautious about discussing them. The phrase tells the listener the specific area where that caution is being applied.
That's very useful. Moving on, our third vocabulary item in this section is also crucial for defining this protective response, and Lucy mentioned it explicitly.
Boundaries.
Boundaries, pronounced B-O-W-N-daries.
B-O-W-N-daries.
Boundaries are limits. They are rules or limits, emotional or physical, that we establish in our relationships to protect ourselves, emotionally, mentally, and physically.
So they define what's okay and what's not okay.
Precisely. They clearly define what is acceptable and, more importantly, what is not acceptable behavior from others toward us. In the dialogue, Lucy mentioned that betrayal, although painful, teaches you what boundaries to set moving forward. And our application example is, he set clear boundaries with his friends after being betrayed to avoid being hurt again.
Okay, the single most important usage detail here for English fluency is the phrasal verb that almost always accompanies this noun,
Which is?
to set boundaries. This is the active verb. When you establish these limits, you set them, just like you set a table, or set an alarm clock, or set a rule.
So you're establishing the rules of engagement.
That's a perfect way to put it.
And we often pair it with strong adjectives to describe the nature of these limits. I've heard phrases like clear boundaries, healthy boundaries, or firm boundaries.
Those are all excellent and very common. You can also use other verbs like maintain or respect. For example, it is important that people respect your boundaries.
Or, you must maintain your boundaries.
Yes. And if the boundaries are violated, you'll hear the negative construction. For example, my coworker often violates my boundaries by calling me late at night.
Or, she did not respect the boundary I had set regarding my private time.
Exactly. These are all highly practical and necessary ways to discuss self-protection and respect in modern English conversation.
That concludes our focus on the action and the immediate protective response. So now we shift our focus from the external response to the internal emotional states that betrayal causes. Let's look at item 4, which relates directly to how the individual sees themselves. Self-esteem.
Self-esteem, and that's pronounced self-esteem. This is a highly common and important English compound noun.
Self-esteem.
It refers directly to how you feel about yourself. It includes your confidence level, your belief in your abilities, and your overall sense of self-worth.
And when someone betrays you, it often causes you to doubt your value or your judgment, so it directly impacts this feeling.
Directly. The example sentence we have clearly shows this negative impact. Her self-esteem dropped after being betrayed by someone she trusted deeply.
That word dropped seems very specific.
It is. This usage demonstrates perfect application. When self-esteem is negatively affected, we use dynamic verbs that indicate a reduction or a negative result. Verbs like dropped, lowered, suffered, or even took a hit are very common.
Took a hit. I like that one. It's very visual.
It is. Think of it like a liquid level in a glass. It can drop quickly or slowly. This usage highlights the vulnerability of our self-esteem to external actions.
So it's a dynamic process. You might use positive verbs for positive actions like, that job promotion really boosted my self-esteem.
That's a great example.
But in the context of betrayal, we use the negative action. The feeling of losing confidence is naturally described as the self-esteem dropping.
Exactly. Another important detail, self-esteem is usually treated as a singular, uncountable noun, even though it represents many feelings and beliefs.
So we would say high self-esteem is crucial, not high self-esteems are crucial.
Correct. It refers to the overall feeling. And when we talk about regaining it, we use verbs like rebuild or restore, as in, it took months to rebuild my self-esteem.
Moving on, the next concept is closely related to low self-esteem because it is the specific mechanism of internal questioning. Self-doubt.
Self-doubt, pronounced self-D-O-W-T, another compound noun. And this is the specific process that happens when you start to question your own decisions, your abilities, your motives, or your judgment.
It's that nagging internal voice that asks, was I wrong? Or did I miss the warning signs?
That's it, exactly. Or even, can I really do this?
The dialogue noted that betrayal can easily lead to this cycle of questioning your own judgment because, well, you trusted the wrong person. The application example is, after the betrayal, he was filled with self-doubt, constantly questioning his judgment.
Okay, for our learners, I want to focus intensely on the structure here. What was self-doubt? This is a highly natural and powerful idiom to express this intense internal state. We frequently use the phrase filled with to describe an overwhelming emotion or state that consumes someone completely.
As if doubt were a physical substance filling the person up?
Exactly. Other common pairings are plagued by self-doubt, which suggests being troubled constantly by it.
Ooh, plagued by. That's a good one too.
Or struggling with self-doubt. The word itself is highly descriptive, combining self and doubt, making its meaning very direct.
So if you are struggling with a big life decision, you might naturally say, I am having a lot of self-doubt about whether to change my career.
A perfect use case. And remember that you can also use a form of self-doubt as an adjective phrase describing a moment or feeling. For instance, he had a momentary lapse of self-doubt before taking the risk.
I see. It clearly describes the emotional uncertainty following a difficult choice or situation. I've also heard people say they are paralyzed by self-doubt.
Yes, meaning you cannot act because the doubt is just too strong.
Our sixth vocabulary item often describes what people feel after they realize they were tricked or misled because they were too trusting. The word is naive.
Naive, and the pronunciation is important. Naïve.
Yeah, naive.
It's an adjective. It describes someone who is overly trusting, maybe inexperienced, or lacks the wisdom to recognize when someone is trying to deceive them.
They're too innocent for the situation.
Right, or unsophisticated, sometimes described as having a lack of street smarts.
In the dialogue, Daniel mentioned the internal questioning that often follows, like, was I too naive to believe them? The application example clarifies this usage. He felt naive for trusting someone who ended up betraying him.
This is used as an adjective describing a perceived flaw in one's judgment or a lack of experience. It almost always follows verbs like feel, was, or seemed.
So you're describing a condition of innocence.
Exactly. And the construction for trusting is also an essential linking phrase here. It connects the feeling of being naive directly to the specific action that caused that negative outcome.
So if your friend invests money with someone who promises huge returns and then the money disappears, your friend might say, I was naive to think it was that easy.
Perfect. Or, I felt so naive when I realized the trick. It's an admission of innocence or, a painful lack of worldly experience.
An internal critique of your own past judgment.
Yes, just remember that pronunciation. Na-e-e-e.
Got it. Finally, for our internal emotional states, let's look at the resulting emotional state of distrust.
Suspicious.
Suspicious. Pronounce S-P-I-S-S. It's an adjective. It means you're feeling cautious, distrustful, or skeptical. This feeling often arises because a past hurt makes you worry that someone might hurt or deceive you again.
It's that constant low-level state of questioning the motives of everyone around you.
Exactly. The dialogue explains that after betrayal, you start seeing potential betrayal everywhere just because you're afraid of being hurt again. The example is, after the betrayal, she became suspicious of anyone who got close to her.
Okay, so a key usage point must be the word that follows.
Pay close attention here. The essential phrasal usage is to be suspicious of. The preposition of is crucial.
In English, you are suspicious of a person, suspicious of their intentions, or suspicious of a situation. If you forget the of, the sentence sounds incomplete.
We also use suspicious to describe a non-person element, right? Like a noise or a look.
Yes, absolutely. You might say, he gave me a very suspicious look when I asked for the documents.
Or, I heard a suspicious noise outside my window.
In those cases, it means the look or the noise suggests something is wrong or possibly dishonest.
And just like with guarded, we use became to clearly show that this is a change from her former trusting state. She wasn't suspicious before.
Right. But the painful betrayal forced her to enter this new distrustful state. This feeling can also grow over time. You might say, she grew increasingly suspicious of her manager's promises after he failed to deliver twice.
Indicating a gradual increasing feeling of doubt.
Exactly.
That leads us to a highly insightful section. We move from describing the effects of betrayal on the victim to trying to understand the deeper causes and motivations of the person who committed the betrayal. This shift in perspective, focusing on the betrayer's issues, can be really important for the healing process.
It can.
So let's start with what is often considered the darkest motivation: malice.
Malice, pronounced MLS, this is a serious noun that describes pure bad intent.
Pure bad intent.
It is the conscious desire to harm someone, to cause suffering, or to act with ill intention. It's very deliberate, often calculated, and cruel. The motivation is simply to inflict pain.
In the dialogue, we noted that betrayal is not always out of pure malice, but when it is, the action is very direct and targeted. The application example is, they acted out of malice, hoping to get revenge for what happened.
The essential usage point here is to act out of malice. Yes. Whenever you use the noun malice to describe the core motivation behind a harmful action, the phrase out of is the absolute standard way to connect the action to the reason. It clearly states the source of the behavior.
So you could say, she started the cruel rumor purely out of malice and jealousy.
A perfect example. You can also use the adjective form malicious to describe an action, an object, or a person.
As in, that was a malicious lie he told.
Or, he has a malicious nature. The key difference is that malice is the intent. It's the noun, while malicious describes the action, the adjective.
Right.
And, understanding that someone acted purely out of malice can sometimes help the victim realize that the action was not a reflection of their own worth, but purely a reflection of the betrayer's bad intent.
That's a powerful thought. Next, let's look at a motivation that isn't necessarily dark or cruel, but purely selfish and focused on survival: self-preservation.
Self-preservation, pronounced self-preservation, a compound noun. It means doing something, really anything, to protect yourself from personal harm, loss, or danger.
It's that deep, primal instinct to survive.
It is, or to protect one's reputation or status. And when this instinct leads to betrayal, it means protecting yourself happens at the direct expense of others. You force them to take the damage.
This concept perfectly describes Daniel's workplace example, where the coworker took credit for someone else's work. The example given was, he betrayed his friend out of self-preservation, fearing he would lose his job if he did not take credit for the success.
And again, we see that critical structure out of self-preservation.
There it is again, out of.
It strongly reinforces that out of is the key preposition for indicating motivation or the source of a difficult action. It tells the listener the underlying reason for the betrayal was the internal, urgent need to preserve their safety, their job, or their reputation.
This is a widely useful word in many contexts beyond just betrayal, isn't it? Describing why someone might lie or hide critical information.
Or flee a bad situation. They are acting in a mode of self-preservation. It's often used to explain, though not necessarily excuse, a difficult or ethically questionable action.
It's a very sophisticated noun.
It is. It summarizes a complex motive, protecting one's status, physical safety, or professional life. You can also use it with the adjective form preservation mode.
As in, after the incident, the entire team went into preservation mode.
Exactly.
Now let's consider a very common motivation, particularly in professional or academic contexts. Ambition.
Ambition, pronounced ambition. This is a noun describing a strong, often intense desire to achieve something great, usually requiring significant effort and drive.
And in a positive light, ambition is good. It fuels success and innovation.
Right. But in a negative context, as in betrayal, it can be a selfish drive that ignores the well-being, feelings, or rights of others.
The dialogue specifically mentioned that in a professional context, people sometimes betray colleagues simply to get ahead or climb the corporate ladder faster. The application sentence is, her ambition to succeed in her career led her to betray her colleague.
Here, ambition functions as the subject of the sentence. It's acting as the dynamic force that leads the betrayal.
So it shows how we can use abstract nouns like ambition as the core agent in a sentence.
Exactly. You can say, ambition leads to action, or ambition drives success. Other verbs that work well with ambition include fueled by ambition, driven by ambition, or even thwarted by ambition.
And if someone is full of this strong drive, we use the adjective ambitious.
Yeah.
She is an incredibly ambitious student, always working to improve her grade.
A great example. And it's important for English learners to note that the word itself, ambition, is generally neutral. But the actions it causes, like betrayal, are judged as positive or negative. In this case, the ambition caused a negative outcome.
You can also describe a goal as ambitious, right?
You can. It was an ambitious goal to complete the entire project in 1 week. This indicates the goal requires great effort and commitment.
Got it. Now let's look at the concept of insecurity.
Insecurity, pronounced insecurity. This is a core psychological noun. It refers to a deep lack of confidence, feeling uncertain about yourself, or sensing that you are deficient compared to others.
And when people feel insecure, they sometimes take shortcuts or undermine others to make themselves feel better.
Yes, to temporarily boost their own standing. The source notes that betrayal is often less about the victim and more about the person betraying their own internal struggle and lack of worth.
The example sentence for this is, his insecurities made him betray his friend, thinking he was not good enough without taking shortcuts.
Okay, notice a critical detail here. We very frequently use the plural form, his insecurities.
Insecurities, plural.
This implies a collection of doubts, worries, self-judgments, and fears, not just one single flaw. And the structure is absolutely key. His insecurities made him betray. This is the causal link structure.
The insecurities were the engine, the driving force.
They were. They resulted in the negative action. So we can confidently say that deep insecurities often cause bad behavior or negative reactions in others.
If someone is being unnecessarily critical or harsh, you might analyze it by saying, he is acting that way because of his own deep insecurities about his skills.
That's a perfect analysis. This is such a valuable word because it provides context. It helps to separate the betrayer's internal flaw from the victim's worth. The action originated from the betrayer's weakness, not the victim's fault.
That's a very healing way to look at it. The final motivation we will cover is a phrase that explains actions driven by a lack of perspective, emotional immaturity.
Emotional immaturity, and the key word is pronounced immaturity. This is a descriptive phrase that indicates a developmental delay.
Or a delay?
Yes. It describes when someone hasn't fully developed the emotional capacity or awareness to understand how their actions significantly affect other people. They often focus only on their immediate needs.
Like a young child who can't see beyond the present moment.
Exactly. The dialogue noted that sometimes betrayal isn't calculated or malicious, but rather comes from this lack of realization of the long-term damage caused to another person.
The application example is, her emotional immaturity caused her to betray her partner, not realizing the long-term damage it would cause.
This is an extremely powerful explanatory phrase in English. Like insecurity, it works best with causal verbs like caused, resulted in, or led to.
So emotional immaturity is the specific trait that resulted in the negative action.
Yes. When using this phrase, you are assigning the responsibility to a lack of developed emotional skill or self-awareness, rather than, say, pure evil or intent.
And it is essential to use the full phrase, emotional immaturity. You're explaining that their emotional understanding, their ability to empathize and predict consequences, is not yet mature.
That's the key. If someone is prone to massive, uncontrolled arguments, you might say, he needs to work on his emotional maturity to communicate effectively. It is crucial when discussing relationship conflicts where the betrayer truly did not grasp the weight of their actions.
Okay, we have discussed the act of betrayal, the internal impact, and the motivations behind it. Now let's move to the most vital part of this journey, the language of healing and recovery.
Yes, the way forward.
This section contains the vocabulary that focuses on resilience and moving forward after the pain has occurred. We begin with a very deep and sometimes difficult concept: forgiveness.
Forgiveness, pronounced forgiveness. This is a noun referring to the complex internal action of letting go of anger, resentment, or the desire for revenge towards someone who has deeply wronged you.
And the dialogue wisely noted that forgiveness is often not about the other person.
It's not. It's about releasing the victim from the heavy negative emotion, a burden they carry.
The application example captures this internal focus perfectly. She decided to forgive her friend, not to excuse the betrayal, but to release herself from the anger.
The key usage here is the verb to forgive. When you use this word, you are describing a deliberate, conscious choice or action taken by the individual.
So we often pair it with verbs that emphasize control.
We do. Verbs like decided to forgive, chose to forgive, found the strength to forgive, or even struggled to forgive.
And remember that the most common grammatical structure in English is to forgive someone for something. I forgave him for lying. Or in our case, she forgave her friend for the betrayal, even though it was painful.
That's a perfect structure. It is also important to understand the concept of self-forgiveness. Sometimes after a betrayal, a person feels naive or full of self-doubt. They might need to forgive themselves for not seeing the warning signs.
So you can use the verb reflexively.
Exactly. I needed to forgive myself for letting my guard down. It's an active process of emotional release, crucial for mental well-being.
Our next phrase is a vivid, powerful metaphor for that lingering, unresolved pain that we talked about earlier: emotional baggage.
Emotional baggage. This is a widely used and recognized metaphor in English, pronounced emotional bagage. It refers to the unresolved emotional issues, pain, fears, or trauma stemming from past experiences, like a betrayal.
So think of a traveler carrying many heavy, unwanted suitcases.
That's the image. The emotional baggage is the heavy, unwanted emotional weight we carry with us into new relationships or new situations.
The dialogue stressed the importance of eventually letting go of that weight so it doesn't harm future connections. Our example sentence is, he realized he was carrying emotional baggage from the betrayal that was affecting his new relationships.
The most common and descriptive verb used with this metaphorical noun is carrying.
You carry it.
You carry emotional baggage, or you haul it, or you are burdened by it. Conversely, to resolve it, you deal with it, or you put down or let go of the baggage.
But using the verb carrying is essential because it maintains that image of a heavy load that prevents free movement.
Exactly. It prevents emotional lightness. You can describe someone generally as having a lot of emotional baggage, meaning they have many unresolved past issues that influence their current actions. It's a very natural metaphor.
It really helps to visualize the problem for the listener. If you are literally carrying heavy suitcases, you cannot run fast or move easily.
Right. And if you are carrying emotional baggage, you cannot form healthy, light, or trusting relationships easily because the past weight is always influencing the present. The goal of recovery is to slowly unpack and discard that baggage.
Our final concept, and perhaps the most hopeful and necessary one for long-term health, is growth.
Growth, pronounced G-R-O-H-T. In this emotional context, it's a noun that describes personal development, maturation, and improvement.
So it's about learning from the experience.
It is. It specifically refers to learning profound lessons from a difficult experience and becoming a better, stronger, or wiser version of yourself as a direct result of that challenge.
The dialogue emphasized that moving forward is ultimately about finding this growth in the pain. The example sentence captures this transformation. The betrayal helped her grow stronger and become more aware of who she lets into her life.
Here we focus on the verb to grow. Notice that structure. The betrayal helped her grow.
The painful experience is recast as a tool, a catalyst.
Yes. And the result is the growth. We often use this verb when discussing personal development. He grew immensely after facing his fear, or I grew stronger through that financial challenge.
And we use the verb grow here, not to mean becoming taller, but to mean emotional or intellectual development.
Correct. You can also use the noun growth itself. She saw tremendous personal growth after the difficult year. She is a completely different person.
This is a crucial concept for recovery vocabulary. It fundamentally reframes a painful memory betrayal, not as a failure of judgment,
but as a difficult, necessary catalyst for positive development and a future with stronger boundaries. It represents the successful outcome of healing.
All right, we have just completed a deep, careful analysis of 15 powerful English words and phrases that allow you to discuss betrayal, the emotional fallout, the motivation of the betrayer, and the language of healing.
That was a lot to cover.
It was. And I think it is worthwhile to briefly review the entire journey we took today, summarizing these 15 essential tools we have given you, repeating them slowly and clearly so you can review their pronunciation one last time.
A great idea.
We covered the specific action and the immediate protective response. First, betrayal.
The violation of trust, often described as deep sense of betrayal.
Second, guarded.
Being cautious about opening up, often used with the verb became more guarded.
And third, boundaries.
The necessary limits we set in relationships, almost always used with the verb to set boundaries.
Next, we covered the critical internal emotional states that follow. Number 4, self-esteem.
Your confidence and self-worth, which often drops after betrayal.
5, self-doubt.
Questioning your own judgment, frequently described as filled with self-doubt.
6, naive.
Being overly trusting or inexperienced, used as an adjective. I felt naive.
And 7, suspicious.
Feeling distrustful of others' motives, always used with the preposition of suspicious of anyone.
Then, we shifted our focus to the complex motivations behind the betrayal. 8 was malice.
The specific desire to cause harm, acting out of malice.
9, self-preservation.
Protecting yourself from loss, often selfishly, betrayed out of self-preservation.
10, ambition.
A strong desire to achieve success, which led to the betrayal.
11, insecurity.
Lacking confidence, often used in the plural, insecurities caused the action.
And 12, emotional immaturity.
A lack of awareness of the consequences of actions, a failure to understand the damage.
And finally, we covered the necessary language of healing and recovery. Number 13, forgiveness.
The choice to let go of anger and resentment, decided to forgive.
14, emotional baggage.
The metaphor for unresolved past pain, which you must stop carrying.
And our last one, number 15, was growth.
Personal development and becoming stronger as a result of the challenge, the betrayal helped me grow.
Wow. This list represents key, high-frequency tools for discussing emotional complexity in natural conversational English.
It really does. And remember, the true value of these words is not simply memorizing the definition, but mastering the usage, using out of for motivation, carrying for baggage, or set for boundaries. This focused practice is what moves you toward fluency.
You now possess these tools, and you have heard them used in context with accurate pronunciation. Your essential next step is to put them into immediate practice.
Yes. We strongly urge you to take 1, 2, or even 3 of these words right now and practice using them in your own English sentences. Use them to describe something that happened to you, maybe something you read about in a book, or even something you saw in a movie or television show.
Using the word in a personal or familiar context is the quickest way to move it from your passive vocabulary list into your active everyday speaking.
It truly is.
This active practice is essential to advancing your fluency and confidence. It helps you deeply understand, remember, and confidently apply English in your daily life. and we want to see your progress. We invite you to continue this conversation by leaving a comment below. Share a sentence using one of the new vocabulary words or phrases you learned today. We will be reading your sentences, and we will respond to your efforts to help ensure your usage is correct and natural.
We'd love to see what you come up with.
If you found this deep dive helpful, please do not forget to like and subscribe to English Uncut. Hit that notification bell so you do not miss our upcoming lessons, where we will continue to break down complex English language topics into practical, useful, and engaging lessons. Your journey and your progress do not stop here. We have thoughtfully selected additional videos and resources for you to continue advancing your English skills right now. You can click on the next video or explore those additional resources immediately to keep your learning momentum strong and continuous.
Thank you so much for tuning in and for dedicating this valuable time to your English learning journey. We are here to support you every step of the way, making sure you gain confidence and clarity.
Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay strong in your learning, and keep practicing your English every single day.
We will see you soon for your next lesson.
Bye, everyone.